Welcome to a continuation in my series on the symbols on the Magician's card. Let's take a look at the body language of the Magician. Start with his facial expression. He's still a young man, similar to the face of the Fool. Perhaps he's not indeed too much farther along the journey. He's young and serene, but with a different focus of direction. Perhaps this is the twin to the Fool, his slightly wiser, more experienced self, his wisdom twin, making his appearance calm, looking directly forward, making eye contact. His right arm is raised, his left pointing down. He's the messenger, the connection between heaven and earth. His right hand is projective, guiding, acting, extending his own consciousness. His left would be receptive, anticipation, reception, welcoming. The left hand, right hand combination might be uniting our will, what we do, the left hand, with divine will, what we aspire to, the right hand. The distinction between the known and the unknown. Perhaps the importance between the raised and the lowered hand is that the magician is a conduit between those points of extreme. Something interesting to consider when it comes to the positioning of the magician's arms. He could well be in the midst of an act of creation, a moment in time in which he is making something manifest. It's not a natural stance. We don't stand like that unless we are doing something. Something's happening here. What might be that moment frozen in time? Let's take a look at the magician's clothing. His inner clothing is a robe, pure white. Association again of the color white we visited when we noticed the color of the lilies on the card. Purity. In this instance, inner purity, wrapped within the bright red of his cloak. One of the associations of the color white is the source of all things and unity. That wholeness and completeness which is internal, perhaps representing his coming to understand and connect to unity, love, and a sense of that greater love. White is also a color of peace and cessation of movement. But we have a hint in the fact that the magician's inner white self is wrapped in a cloak of fiery red. And perhaps in this moment, in this act of creation we've caught him in the middle of, it's what rises from that most peaceful place of contemplation and non-movement. What is made manifest from that silent, beautiful center. The red of his cloak has traditional alignments to activity and movement, goal-focused activity, no motion wasted, every motion with a purpose. Red's also the color of fire and blood, life force, action, willpower, purpose, passion, courage, and sensuality. In other words, everything which is not that contained, innermost, intimate, pure essence of a person, everything which takes their body out and into the world is the color red. Our outer world activity as opposed to our inner world activity. Red is also the alchemical color for sulfur, and may teach us that the magician is an alchemist. Certainly, the other symbols on this card lead us to believe he takes things and he brings them together and he creates something out of them, different from, greater than, perhaps, they were separately. If we look at his cloak and his robe together, they remind us of the symbolism, all of the symbols that the roses and the lily represent, manifest in the magician himself. White and red together. Passive and active, internal and external principles, and the magician's ability to use them both. If his robe represents purity, of which innocence is another expression, it may well represent the fool within the magician. The red of the cape, then, being the experience and actions of the next phase in the fool's development, his evolution into the magician. White, represented by his robe, is also the alchemical color of the great work, the magician's true spiritual purpose in life, in this life. The red cloak can then be seen as love, influencing that which envelops, protects, and reminds us of the unconditional love of the whatever is greater. Notice that the magician wears his cloak lightly. He can easily shrug it off. It's not bound to him. It's not closed in any way. It leaves open and obvious the always pure intentions behind his action, his white actions. At any moment, he is in the midst of an action. He is also reflecting at an eternal level on that action, his intent for it, and the way forward. The magician lives powerfully in the world of the physical made manifest and his role within that. But the balance to that is his need to withdraw into the underworld of inner existence. The red and the white and the red of the magician align him to the traditional axiom, as above, so below. As within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. White and red. It's the power of his consideration, of our consideration, that anything we choose to manifest in the physical world, we first envisioned within. It's born there. It comes to life there. We then create it in the physical. If this card captures one poignant moment in time for the magician, it might be the first thought of what becomes the first move towards action. We might ask the card then, is what important is what the magician manifests, or is it rather the instant that he knows he can make manifest when he has had his vision? Make manifest the moment he has his internal vision, the moment any of us have our internal vision. Is it the instant that he realizes that we realize we are capable of creation? It's the simultaneous holding of stillness and action, thought and deed, imagination and manifestation. White and red, red and white. I hope you'll join me in a continuation of this series on the magician's symbols in its next video in the series.